Continuing resolutions are temporary funding measures to enable the federal government to continue operating, even when the legislative and executive branches have not yet agreed on the next annual budget. But this will surely be an issue as we head into the November election. Will Republicans be able to reach a deal, or will the Democrats be able to hang the albatross of another shutdown around their necks? Republicans and Democrats have this week to get to work. Joining us now, someone who is never afraid to speak his mind, especially on matters like this, Congressman Matt Gaetz. Welcome.
One thing I might correct in your monologue is that there's nothing temporary about continuing resolutions. There may be temporary in a particular duration, but our nation has been governed by continuing resolution or omnibus spending bill for like the last 8 years. And it's disappointing, and it's the reason we're $37 trillion in debt. We're adding $1 trillion to the national debt every 100 days. And the reason that is permissible in Washington, D.C. is because we do not review single subject bills where each agency has to defend their budget. That is the reform I am relentlessly fighting for here, because I think it's the only thing that will save the country. Like, if we did everything else right, if we created peace in the world, if we secured our border, if we had safe streets, we will still lose America if we devalue the dollar to basically nothing. We will still lose America if we're tipping past $50 trillion in debt. So that's why there's a group of us who do not support continuing resolutions. We prefer single subject spending bills.
No, absolutely right, and I'm glad you corrected that. And it's a problem because ultimately it speaks to Congress's inherent belief that we are too big to fail. And somehow they believe that we just continue to limp along, get more credit cards. If any normal household operated the way that your colleagues spend money, we would have a lot of bankruptcies behind our belts. And China's waiting in the wings, by the way, for all of this.
No, you're absolutely right. And the debt that we aren't borrowing from China, we're essentially having the Fed purchase about a third of the debt. And that drives interest rates. And so if you're wondering why your starter home is now your forever home, if you're wondering why you might have to pay twice as much in interest on buying a car, it's because the federal government continues to spend money without programmatic review of the different things that work and the different things that don't. And by the way, this ought to be bipartisan. It shouldn't be in this town like you're some crazy person if you believe that every agency should justify their budget. And that is not a bug of the system. It is a feature of a corrupt system, because the lobbyists and the special interests who own the leadership on both sides of the aisle far too often in this town, they get something in that budget, and baby, they want the continuing resolution life forever, because that is eternal life once you get something in the base budget. So I actually think that this is the wrong way to govern. I'll give the House more credit than the Senate. The Senate has not passed a single appropriation bill. We passed appropriations bills for Homeland Security, for our defense, for our environment. And you know what? If there's a batch that we can't get to, maybe you CR the rest of it. But doing a continuing resolution on the whole budget, really problematic. Now, I will say, on behalf of those who wanted to pass the SAVE Act and leverage government funding, I don't particularly blame them. A lot of them are great conservatives who are really worried about the number of illegal aliens who are going to be potentially voting in these elections. And where you have a Secretary of State who might be willing to enforce the law, you've got to give them the strongest possible hand to do so. So look, even as we're having this discussion, the halls of Congress are buzzing with whatever we could do to reinvigorate our election integrity efforts in this government funding battle.
Look, I know that we can't be in every room, every discussion, and everybody's shoes, but from the outside, people are just so frustrated looking at Congress, looking at how it seems like Republicans need to be on the same page, and they just don't. They don't come together, even with issues that seem pretty straightforward, like the SAVE Act.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.